Hello, CQ. Hello, CQ. CQ, the Old Friends Net. Time for the Tuesday edition of the Old Friends Get Together. It's W4MEC, your net control for today. Old Friends Net meets 3 times a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Sundays at 4 p.m. Always the same frequency, 3715 plus or minus some vintage gear. Old Friends Net is amplitude modulation only, and while as long as you can generate an AM signal, regardless of rig type, you're welcome to join us. Even though we're focused on restoring and putting vintage gear back on the air, it's a great place to sell something or look for something you're looking for, or maybe a part. It's also carried out in a round table fashion. I'll take check-ins a couple times through the net and get you a place to sit at the table. So if my receiver is working, I'm going to, if anybody would like to participate in today's frivolity, please give W4MEC a call. Good morning, Charlie, WA4LLR.
WB4ARK.
WB4NKL.
M4IYQ.
K3OS.
W4KR.
Must be working a little bit. Before I got Dave, WA4LLR, Steve, N4LQ, George, K4GEN, Buddy, WB4ARK, Cliff, WB4NKL, Chuck, N4IYQ, Gary, K3OS, and Stan, W4KR. Anybody else around number 9? I'm not sure if that was a carrier in there with no audio. I heard something weak, but let me stand by one more time. Was that someone trying to call?
K4JAL.
Well, we got you, Jimmy. K4JAL. That wasn't the signal I was hearing because you're much stronger. So anyway, here's what we got. In the order of business, LLR, LQ, GN, ARK, NKL, IYQ, OS, KR, and IL. Good morning, fellas, from a 9-degree Henderson County and clear skies. None of my pipes broke last night, so any preventative measures I might have either worked or I didn't need them. So I actually crawled under the house last night to place a heater kind of central, and when I got under there, I said, you know, it's not bad under here at all. So I didn't go to a lot of great detail. Of course, all the pipes are insulated and all that, but I was just going to be sure, because of my thing about having no oil furnace anymore. It was kept bottom of my house toasty. So got the power back yesterday about 1 o'clock. That was good, and it's held through ever since. And I only fell on the ice twice yesterday walking up the road. And first one wasn't too bad because I was going downhill. But then I was taking the dinner to a widower that my wife's been cooking dinner for a few years on a Monday night. And man, he was cleaning something, and I noticed, well, that's a big old patch of ice. I'm not going to walk on that. I'm going to walk over here where it's kind of gritty. Well, I took 2 steps, and it's like somebody did a leg sweep. I was parallel to the ground, and I was coming down. And pretty good landing. Didn't hurt anything but my head, but that's neither here nor there. Well, I scrambled his dinner up pretty good. He got 2 meals in one of those 3-section styrofoam boxes with, he had potatoes and Brussels, not Brussels sprouts, green beans and cube steak. The potatoes and the green beans in the section there were kind of landing on top of the cube steak. So anyway, he wasn't worried about it. So anyway, my head doesn't hurt, so I guess I didn't hurt anything important. So let's get started with Dave, WA4LLR, W4MC.
All right, Charlie, fine business. W4 MEC and the old friend WA4LLR. I'm glad you didn't hurt anything other than your pride. I went out yesterday to feed the birds. The feeders on the front part of the deck. And old Bentley, our big old dog, decided he was going to go with me. And being 2 years old, he's still pretty much of a pup, so he takes off running. And all of a sudden, his leg could go every which way, and wham, he comes down like a ton of bricks. It was slick out there. But, he learned pretty quickly that he couldn't do his normal high-speed runs and turns on ice. Well, when I got up this morning, when I let the dog out about 6, it was 8 degrees, 7 or 8 degrees, and now it's all the way up to 15, so it's warming up fairly rapidly out there. They're saying a high of 34 today. Hopefully we'll get above freezing. Running the Harvey Wells TBS 50D this morning. Some help from the SB 220 and receiving on the Drake 2A. So, how are things in the city of Pleasant living? Is it a pleasant temperature this morning? N4LQ, WA4LLR. N4LQ in the old friend, K4GDX. And it was 24 this morning here at about 7 o'clock, and I think it's still certainly in the 20s. It was about 28 in the shack. And it turns out it's clear here. I think maybe going to get up into the 40s today. It's global warming. I'm sitting here with the electric heater right down the feet. I don't have a fan on mine. It's just 98. But it does the job. And I've got a couple of hours to close out. There was a very interesting article in the last edition of Electric Radio. It talked about the transmitter that Richard was talking about. In the last article talks about repairing the trimmers on a BC312, which is the same thing as a BC342, just different power supply. I might comment on that a little bit later, but it was an interesting article. And now there's a problem with that series of radios, the 312 and the 342. As the guy mentioned, there's 24 trimmers in there, and they all seem to have the same problem as they age, and it takes the thing out when they go, because the trimmers are out of place. So with that, we'll pass it on to Buddy. WB4ARK and the group K4GDN.
K4GDN, WB4ARK, okay. All right, well, the temperature here is 10 degrees. And it was that way at, well, actually at 5 o'clock it was 12. And it dropped, as it does many times, as the dawn progresses, just before light, and it got down to 10 degrees, so it's there now. And I'm surprised you guys have a little bit warmer temperature up there in your area. But the sky is clear here. Sun is out, and we're expecting a little warm up today. The snow ice accumulation has melted drastically off of most of our driveway and the street. So we're definitely getting into a warm situation here during the day. We're running the ART-13 on the VFO and receiving on the R390A, and with the lower horizontal dipole, so my signal may not be as strong as normal. I haven't gone out to pull it back up yet. We'll wait until it warms up just a little bit more. But they say we may be in for another round of snow toward the weekend, so we'll see what happens there. So over to Cliff, WB4NKL. This is WB4ARK.
Yeah, WB4ARK, it's WB4NKL. Well, good morning to everybody. I'm in the basement shack on the 32V3 and the 75A4 receiver. We had 5 and it's warmed up to 6 degrees here, looks like. But I had got a wood stove here in the basement. I hadn't had it fired up in about 15 years, so I brought up some wood up there in case the power went off, and the power didn't go off, but I decided to go ahead and fire this thing up and use it a little bit since I had the wood up here, and so it's I've got it 78 degrees here in the basement shack, and it's helping the heat pump. It ain't running near as much as normal. So enjoy this wood heat while I've got it. Yeah, it's looks like the first time it gets up to 40 is about a week or so out right now, so it's going to be in the 30s and the single digits for a while here, looks like. Send it on to neighbor Chuck. I guess it's not much better over in Telford, is it, Chuck? N4IYQ, WB4NKL.
WB4NKL and the old friends N4IYQ. Good morning, everyone. Charlie, thanks for calling the net. Always appreciated. It's a sunny 8 degrees up here, Cliff. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's where I slid the sliding glass door open to let the dogs out and let a little bit of heat out into the backyard. Looking for 31 degrees today. We're on the Ranger, driving it at about 12 watts into the SB221, about a 125, 130 watt carrier. Receiving on the Hammerlin HQ 180A. Good copy on everybody. Good copy on you, George, this morning from Myrtle Beach area. And Charlie, glad you got your power back on. Hate you fell. You need to be careful. I work part-time at a brain injury rehab, so protect the head. But good signals on everybody. It's to you, Gary, K3OS, N4IYQ.
N4IYQ, K3OS.
Chuck, good morning to everybody. Well, I left my need to check the battery in my microphone here. It looks like it's a little on the weak side. I left it on for a couple of days. Anyway, weather's about the same. It's about 10, 11 degrees here. It was about 9 when I got up this morning earlier. but sunny, and still everything is frozen. It's white outside. We had a little melting here on the driveway yesterday, but not enough. Fortunately, I've got a sloping driveway. I put the car at the top of the driveway in case we need to get it out. Probably do that later on today. I am. Somebody ought to explain the heat pump issues to me, because I'm just wondering why nobody has developed a switch, down around these temperatures. They don't work well, and the auxiliary heat, and the electric strips go on. But yet the heat pump is still working. Well, those suckers need to be defrosted. When all of a sudden the thing goes into a defrost cycle, it gets cold, because there's no way to pick up the back. It's not backup, it's primary heat. So somewhere along the line, maybe 25, 30 degrees, I should get smart enough and just to throw off the heat pump and run on emergency heat anyway. I bet you I'd use less electricity. Anyway, that's my thoughts. What do you, Stan? I should have gone dual heat when I replaced this about 5 years ago, but I didn't. I wasn't smart. W4KR, K3OS.
K3OS, W4KR. Okay, Gary. Gary, depends on what the backup is. Is it a 5 kilowatts toaster or a 10 kilowatt toaster? Usually it'll be one or the other, or both. Ours has 2 5s, and now this particular heat pump is scheduled to run down to about 5 degrees, and then it automatically kicks over, because it produces more heat down to that level than the toaster elements would. That's what I call them anyway, toaster elements. Temperature here this morning is 17, going up to 40 today, and that's what it's going to be like for 2 or 3 days, and then it's come the end of the week, we're supposed to get more snow, so look out, here we come. Dave, regarding George's dog, regarding the dog, my folks had a standard poodle by the name of George, and he used to do the same thing. First, when he was about 2, I remember the first real winter after he was about 2, he went roaring through the house and out the back door, and crashed into a garage door. Stood up, laid down there for a little bit, stood up, finally shook his head, and it got moving again. But he calmed down for every time he saw white. From there on, he was a little more, little quieter. Anyway, that's really about it for the morning. I'm going to sign after this one. I'll listen around, but don't. Gary, next time turn it directly to Jimmy like I'm going to do right now. K4JAL, W4KR.
W4KR in the group, K4JAL. Well, bye, Stanley. I know you're listening. Have a good day. Not much going on up here. It's 9 degrees now. Balmy day. I'll make the best of it I can. I went out once yesterday to get the paper, and I didn't have a paper. But anyway, that's the way it goes. And I didn't fall because we didn't get any snow. We had a little bit of sleet, and that was it. Glad you didn't get hurt, Charlie. Crashing is no good. I'll give it back to you. W4MEC, K4JAL.
K4JAL on the group, W4MEC. Hey, do we have anybody that would like to join us? Give me a call. Nothing hers, W4MEC and the old friends net. Well, we didn't get any snow either. We got nothing but ice, sleet, and I guess, and thankfully all of it is on the ground, did not stick to the trees. I'd be buried under fallen trees. But it's a good solid, in most places, 2 inches of it that is coagulated into a solid sheet of ice. when you go out there and walk in my yard, it sounds like you're walking on a pond and the ice is cracking underneath your feet. And I'm amazed in the pasture, it's solid ice too, that cows aren't acting like Dave's dog there and darn falling over and the legs splaying out from underneath them there, but I guess they're cloven hoof or what, not cloven hoof, regular hoof there, and their weight punches a hole through it, but and it hasn't, it might be in some infrared, might be doing some infrared evaporation, but it has not been cold enough to put a dent in any of it. I think it was 23 yesterday here was the high, so that ice ain't going anywhere unless it gets up into the, at least the upper 30s, you know. So we'll see what happens here. It's interesting, you mentioned that gadget, your heater there acting up, Steve. We had a humidifier, and pretty nice one, and I put it in a pan, one of these things you put under a potted plant, you know, so the thing won't leak on the floor. Well, it's all electronic too, and I guess I put the darn reservoir on the thing wrong, not quite right, and for one time, and it slowly filled that pan up and flooded all the electronics, and it was still on. So I thought it would self-heal if I took it and dried it out completely. I put it in front of the heater vent for a couple days, but it does not like it did not like getting wet, and so I had to abandon that thing. It started doing some weird electronic stuff. So with it had push button, had touch-sensitive push buttons, and it just wasn't working right. So it did not like to be immersed. So here I was thinking I'm going to save the floors there with these darn pans, and I killed my darn humidifier. And Steve, that email you sent about Olson Electronics and that file, I can't open it, and it wasn't attached or nothing, but I tried to highlight it or something, but it doesn't open at all, so I'm not sure what the issue is. And I thought it was a link to a site or something, and I couldn't even highlight it, which is weird, you know, where you hold your mouse button down and you scroll across it and it highlights it. It wouldn't highlight it at all. And I said, well, it's not working here, but I went down the page, everything else highlighted just fine. So not sure what that link is or what that page is. So let's see what else we got. Yeah, I had Gary, I had a heat pump like that, and you're exactly right. That baby go into defrost mode, which is basically it turns back into an air conditioner, and it'd be, you know, freezing outside, and that baby's blowing ice cold air. So once it resets itself, and now you got to heat the darn house back up again. So that was an older system that I had, and I think it was a Bryant. And I ended up rewiring the thing so I could turn the darn compressor off outside, and I forget how I did it now. I think the thermostat had something in it that you could open one wire and it wouldn't, the outside unit would not run, and I just run on heat strips, which was, you know, Rob Fort Knox for that, for when you do that, when it starts pulling. I think I had 20 kilowatts, and that'll warm up your watt meter on the side of the house. So. But this unit I have at about 38 degrees, it completely shuts down outside and runs on propane. So it's wonderful. I like a flame. You got to have a flame to stay warm. Ain't that right, Dave? WA4LLR in the group. W4MEC.
Absolutely. W4MEC. WA4LLR. Yeah, well, you know, we've installed a lot of the LP radiant heaters. They work, but I like to see a flame, whether it's a wood flame or a propane flame. Charlie, so glad you got your power back. And yeah, be careful. Don't be falling around. We don't bounce as good as we used to, or I sure don't. Steve, sorry about the electric heater giving up the ghost, and sorry about your loop coming down. Hope you get that fixed quickly, but you sound great on the inverted V. And George, you're about S9 up here this morning from the beach. Buddy, you're cooler than we are down in your part of the world. And Cliff's still hunkered down in the bunker. Chug the Ranger sounds good. And Gary, my son, when when they built their home, they put in a heat pump, and, and I said, what are you going to do for supplemental heat? Well, he said, I don't know. First winter, he almost froze to death, and we fixed him up with propane backup heat. But I'll tell you, a lot of people are having that issue, especially in this area with heat pumps. And I know a lot of folks have a gas pack on their heat pump, a gas propane backup, and it really works a lot better than the electric, and the fuel cost is not nearly as high. Yeah, definitely. When it gets down this kind of temperature, a lot of the heat pumps just don't cut it. So he didn't add anything to his heat pump, but he's got a propane insert in his fireplace, and he's got a couple of other individual propane heaters that he relies on when it gets weather like this. Let's see here. Yeah, Stan, dogs in their first snow is a comedy to watch for sure. And Jimmy, you're still considerably colder down there. Temperature's climbing pretty quickly up here. It's up to about 17, looks like. So maybe some of this will get to you here before too long. Well, we've not been off the hill in about 3 days, maybe 3 or 4 days, and and today's not looking much better. I don't think we're going to get much melting going on, and everything is just iced over. Let's see here, space weather. Sunspot count's 115, solar flux index 165, and the K is 2. They're saying we might get a minor geomagnetic storm tomorrow with some high-speed solar wind coming in. And I'm looking forward to this upcoming Artemis 2 mission. Supposedly we're going to be traveling farther on a manned flight, farther from the Earth than anybody's ever been, going out a pretty good distance beyond the moon, orbiting it, and coming back. So, back in the 60s when the space program was getting underway, I would watch it with great interest, and I just knew that by the time I was, middle age or a little better, we'd have a continuing presence on the moon, but that sure didn't happen. Anyway, a few items from this day in history. On this day in 1976, the first episode of Laverne and Shirley aired on ABC. I know that's really important. At this day in 1973, the Paris Peace Accords formally ended the Vietnam conflict. On this day in 1967, during a simulation of a launch, Virgil Grissom, Edward White, and Roger Chaffee died in a fire in the command capsule. On this day in 1945, the Nazi concentration camp at Auschwitz was liberated by the Soviets. And let's see, on this day in 1880, Thomas Edison patented the incandescent lamp. And we're trying hard to get rid of those. And I still like incandescent lamps. And finally, on this day in 1832, mathematician and novelist Lewis Carroll was born in Cheshire, England. So, down to you, Steve, N4LQ, WA4LLR.
All right. This is N4LQ drifting down the band in the Lone Ranger. There we go. Right on frequency. Well, see, that's funny about the dog. If you go to YouTube and just let it do a search on funny dog falls or in ice or something like that, you'll have enough entertainment to last you for a long time. Yeah, Charlie, I don't know what's wrong with the Olsen just an attached JPEG photograph, and I checked it here on my phone. It comes right up. So if everybody else would check their email and see if that works for them. It's just a picture of an electrolytic capacitor that I took out of an old power supply, and it's an Olson. And I used to enjoy getting their catalog, and back in the 70s and 80s, they were fairly popular, them and Bernstein, Appleby. There was an Olson store they opened up in Louisville. I used to love to go in there and look around. They had a lot of stereo equipment, some pretty good stuff, and of course a lot of parts and things. So that story you told Dave about us going around the moon in a bigger orbit and all that reminded me of the book by Jules Verne, From the Earth to the Moon and Back Again. And I was in high school, I believe, when I got hold of that book and read it, and it was fascinating back then. It's way before we ever thought about going to the moon. And they did it not with a rocket, but they shot the capsule out of a big cannon, and these people went up there and came back. So I don't know. I think we do have plans to set up a base on the moon. That's coming up in the near future, I guess. Not sure what it will accomplish, but I think we should have stayed there when we went the first time and claimed it for the United States. So George, here comes K4GDN, N4LQ.
N4LQ and the group's K4GDN. And we're still on the motor robot, AL67. I turned the speed cam volume up, so looks like I'm getting pretty good modulation out of it now. I wasn't the other day. For some reason, I must have inadvertently hit the knob. And we're putting about 7 or 8 watts into the homebrew 811, putting out about I guess 120, and receiving on the PMR7. I mentioned that article in Electric Radio about the BC312 trimmer repair. The same thing applies, as I said, to the BC342, and that's the problem, Charlie, with the 342 that you have now. And I noticed the little clamp he's got really is pretty interesting, but I don't see how he can get it into the capacitors that are on the back side of the box. But I think what you could do, I tried using super glue. I took the capacitor out, which is really a pain, and clamped it and tried to use super glue. But I think what would work would be leaving the capacitor in place and then coming in from behind and pushing the rotor out to where it clears the stator. Then tightening down on the locking nut, that would hold the rotor in place. And then you could saddle that collar, what he calls a ferrule, the little collar in place. And I think this is a perennial problem with the 312 and the 342. I really like the 342 that I had. That was the first good receiver I had when I started this in the late 50s. And I never had a problem then. I guess it's just as they age, either the collar cracks or relaxes. I don't remember seeing any crack collars with the radio that you had, Charlie, but they were when you tried to adjust it, when you turned when you loosened up the locking nut on the shaft and tried to adjust it, if you pushed any in with the screwdriver, you would get the rotor would slip and touch the starter and short things out. I might mention the band seems to be pretty good, but there was some pretty neat QRT, and it was giving Gary and Mark a good run for the money there. Although Jimmy was coming in very good, but the QSB is well, hello everybody. I'm on the inside backhoe. I might try another antenna for a little bit later, just on the receiver and see if it does any better. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, buddy. WB4ARK in the group K4GDN.
K4GDN, WB4ARK. Well, you almost got covered up by QSB at the end there. Anyhow, I think you've got a little bit of oscillation going on in your audio. It's wanting to break into full oscillation, but it doesn't quite make it. It's just on and off. So you might want to give that a check. Maybe you turned it up a little bit too much. Well, I had a 312, and I had the same issue with one of my units, and I think the ferrule cracked, and so I forget exactly how I handled it, but I got it straightened out and maybe soldered it, possibly, I forget. And that took care of the problem there, but I noticed it when I was trying to align the unit, and that's what caused it to happen, I think, when I turned the rotor. Well, Jim, I was wondering if your Kohler unit has been on in service since you had it installed, and I'm wondering how you like it. Does it function better than another type of unit? I wonder if it do they cost more, and how it operates. Just wondered. My father had a Kohler plant at a chicken farm that he owned, but back in I forget, gosh, probably the late 40s, and it worked quite well for them. And of course it was DC, and I believe it was DC. Most plants were, well, a lot of plants were back in that day. Anyhow, the temperature here is a little bit colder than it is in the mountain area for some reason. That happened the other day when the temperatures were announced from the mountains down to this area. Anyhow, I wonder if anybody lost any significant amount of power besides Charlie over the icing situation. We didn't lose power here, didn't even have a glitch, but we had quite a build-up, and we had, after the initial measurement of the snow and ice or sleet situation, we had a measurement of a 0.15 inches accumulation of melted precipitation. And then the next day we had 0.56 inches of measured melted precipitation. It was really hard too. It took a good bit to thaw it out in the rain gauge, but we had a significant more of an increase, and it came in on top of everything else. So just wondering if anybody had that situation occur. So we will turn it over to Cliff, WB4NKL. This is WB4ARK.
Yeah, WB4ARK, WB4NKL. Wife turned on, or she's vacuuming upstairs, and we got central vacuum, and the unit's sitting over here close to me. So I got a jet engine running over here beside of me. You might be able to hear that in the background. But I had the issue with the BC348 with the collar cracked, like George was talking about, and I did about the same kind of repair, except I didn't solder it. I took a drill and drilled through the collar. I got it in possession, then took a drill and drilled through the collar, and then pinned it with a little steel pin. And I guess a different way of accomplishing the same thing. I got that taken care of. I'll go ahead and get out since I got this vacuum going, and go upstairs and see what's going on. Enjoyed it. Thanks for calling it, Charlie. And Chuck, he sent me a message, said that he had gone to work, so I guess I'll send it on to Gary, K3OS, WB4N.
Yeah, work is a bad thing, Cliff. WB4NKL, K3OS, yep. Yeah, we've got QSB here, but copying everybody just fine. The answer to the question, I've got, my heat pump has 10K strips, a 10K strip in it, and it's actually got more than that, but I've got it permanently, had them permanently wire it for about 10, rather. I could run 15, but there's a reason why I chose not to do that. It's about 5 years old, something like that. I should have gone dual fuel. I've got 250 gallons of propane sitting out in the backyard, which I use for other appliances and things like that, so I could have easily done it, but I didn't. Anyway, I do have a couple of these mini splits, the Mitsubishi mini splits, which, man, they put out heat at 10 degrees without any problem. So sitting here in my shack downstairs in the basement, I've got a mini split on the wall. It's just pumping out heat. It's very comfortable down here, so we're pretty good. And speaking about old things, I think, Dave, you know, I every now and then I get a kick out of reading old science fiction, you know, turn of the century science fiction. They're actually talking about, it turns out, you know, they're predicting objects that we have currently in use today. It's kind of fun to go back and read some of those old books. Anyway, let me pass it back. Let's see, it goes to Jimmy, K4JAL, K3OS.
K3OS, K4JAL. Well, I had a lot of QSB on you, Gary. I guess that's just the name of the game today. Buddy, I've got a Kohler 22K generator that it's been in a year and a half, and the only time it checks itself out every week and does a fine job on that. And we've only had 2 very intermittent outages, and it worked fine. We didn't have any outages during this last scenario. But the one thing I don't like about it, when I first got it, you could program it from your iPhone. And then they did a software upgrade, and it lost that capability. And when I talked to my installer, he said, well, the new system doesn't incorporate Wi-Fi, that you have to hardwire to your router to get it to work, and he wanted $300 to come hook it up, so we don't talk anymore. That's about all I know about Kohler. Back over to you, Charlie, W4MEC, K4JAL.
Very good, Jimmy, K4JAL in the group, W4MEC. We have a late check-ins that would like to join us. Come now.
WA4EVK, very late, but with a cup of coffee.
Gotcha, Boone. Anybody else? Okay, Boone, you'll be after Jimmy next go-around. Go ahead and make a transmission and let us know what's happening in Pickens. WA4EVK, W4MEC.
Not too much, other than the wild hogs exploding my front lawn as I sent the pictures out. What a weird deal. Never seen one around here, but got them anyway. Things are pretty nippy here in Pickens this morning.
Last time I looked, it was about 12 degrees. Other than that, just glad to get through this mess so far. Jimmy, I really sympathize with you with that generator. That's, well, you probably were more restrained than I would have been. $300 to come out and restore a capability that just doesn't compute. That's about it. Back to you, Charlie, WA4EVK.
Very good, Boone. For EVK, W4MEC. Anybody else out there? Nothing heard. W4MEC and the old friends net. Well, there is a propagation phenomenon going on right this moment. I do not understand it. One of my granddaughters is out in the den watching my plasma TV, and there's absolutely no noise in my radio. And normally, it's so deafening that I usually have to ask, please turn it off for an hour, you know. And I got an ANC4 that will null it out, but I don't have null it out. Do a really good job of nulling it out, but it's not even turned on. And it's absolutely amazing. There's not the tiniest hint of noise coming from that plasma TV. So that means two things: either propagation or it's getting ready to fail in some manner. So anyway, Steve, I went back to that thing and I reopened that email again, and actually I deleted it because it wasn't working. And then I went, after you mentioned what it was, I put it back in the inbox, and sure enough, when it opened the email, there's the picture of the capacitor. So I don't know what that was about, but I can actually see it now. So anyway, and the repair, George, that you're talking about, I discovered that, well, I don't know, I'm not bragging or nothing, I don't want to say I did, but I ran into those exact same problems and figured out a way to fix it, much like Cliff did quite a few years ago, where you squeeze that thing and get those plates aligned. And I did what Cliff did. I drilled a hole right through it, and I used a piece of resistor lead and stuck in there and soldered it. And they won't slip ever because, you know, originally they're built, they're just soldered together. So, but I wrote that up, pretty good article. I submitted it to QST as a hint and keep, and they kicked it back and they said not of interest to our current readership. So there's not a lot of folks out there except those who read ER magazine that will be interested in fixing that capacitor in that manner. So, and I was looking at, I was telling my neighbor who's got a generator, but he doesn't have one that does 220, so he can't run as well. And I went back and looked at the one I bought in 2024 from Amazon, and it's still the same price, $1,000 even almost, $999.95, 12,500 watt made General Electric, produced, or whoever they got it from. But amazingly, it's still $1,000, and even with the inflation and tariffs, if it's coming from a foreign country. But it's been, I've used it all through Helene, and then 2 days yesterday and Sunday and Monday, and it's been a good running unit. And it'll take my well pump, and it doesn't even hiccup when my well pump kicks on. You can't even tell, you know. So that was my old generator. When the well pump kicked on, that baby would lug down, even though it should be able to carry it. It did not carry it, and on the startup current. But this one, no problem whatsoever. But we really like it. So anyway, good little unit. And what else we got on the notes? Nothing else. And we can do a nice 73 around here. Don't have to be rushed. And let's see, I think that covers that stuff. And WA4LLR and the group W4MEC.
All right, W4MEC, WA4LLR, and good morning to you, Boone. Sounding good up here into the eastern jungles of Yancey County. And I was highly impressed by the capability of your wild swine. Your yard looked like a plowed field. Now, I thought the mole population I have here was bad, and it is. I've never had moles in my life like we've had for the last few months. I've never seen anything like it. And my dog keeps keeps all these holes dug up where he's after the moles, and he's eliminated a lot. But man, they must be multiplying or calling in reinforcements. Somebody was telling me that they make some kind of pellets or something that you could sow in your yard, and it will either, I don't know if it dispatches the moles or just causes them to go elsewhere. But I got to find something. But man, those pigs did a number on your yard. If somebody was, sowing a large a large field of crops, turn those fellas loose in it, they'd prepare the ground. My goodness, Jimmy, I hate to hear that about your Kohler generator. Well, let's see, when we put in our Generac, it had Wi-Fi capability, and I was getting ready to set it up, and I got to looking at what they were saying. Well, if you hook up the Wi-Fi, that gives us, the company, permission to monitor your usage and use your information in our research and for advertising purposes. And I said phooey on it, so I never set up the Wi-Fi. But boy, that thing saved our bacon during Helene. The 2 weeks we were without power, it did a yeoman's job. Let's see, Gary. Yeah, I love older science fiction. I've got all the works of Jules Verne and a lot of those folks. H.G. Wells. And Steve, you were talking about From the Earth to the Moon. Yeah, I don't know how many times I've read that one. As a kid, I lived on science fiction. Anyway, let's see here. What else is going on? George, on that round, you were peaking 20 over. Man, you just really booming in up here all of a sudden. Not a lot more here, so I'm going to go ahead and say 7-3 and go in search of some breakfast. But Charlie, thanks for calling it. Good signals, good net. Everybody have a great day. Stay warm. 7-3 and God bless. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
4LLR, N4LQ. Okay. Well, before you go, I'll tell you what I know about moles. And we bought a house in Kentucky, and our neighbor had tremendous trouble. The whole backyard just covered with molehills. And up there, the moles make these little volcano-looking things. They're about a foot high, or even taller, and when you run the tractor over them, it makes a big cloud of dust. Well, anyway, that guy next to us got a cat, and the cat would go out in the backyard, and within just a few days, the moles were all gone, and they came over to my yard and took over. So I think all you got to do is get a cat, and the moles will leave. As far as things you can buy, we tried all kinds of stuff. Something called Mole Scoot, and it's a liquid you pour in their holes, and it's supposed to make them leave. And then there's smoke bombs, and those things, they don't kill the mole. They just make it uncomfortable for a while. There's ways to trap them between molehills and then poke them with a rod or something. I don't know. It's going to take some kind of sonar or something, but it's not easy to get rid of those things unless you get a cat. So there you go. That'll be it from here. 73s, everybody, and over to George. K4GDN, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ. I turned the volume down a little bit on this thing. I think it may have been overmodulating, and I may have been getting a little close to the microphone. Looks like I might be hitting 100% every now and again with it. Anyway, the QSB is still in there, and still copying everybody pretty well okay. And Charlie, thanks for calling the net. And hopefully we'll be in here on Thursday if we don't get caught by the global warming again. So with that, buddy, in the new K4GDN, 73, guys.
K4GDN, WB4ARK. Okay, George, yeah, you got the problem solved. I think your audio's about what it was with the volume up at the oscillation level. Well, Jim, thanks for telling me about the Kohler issue. That's really something, $300 to run a line and hook it up to your computer. That's kind of ridiculous. But I don't know. Yeah, we had thought about getting a Generac, but we haven't done anything. We're so close to the power station that we just don't have that much of an issue. The nuclear power plant they do a very good job of keeping the trees trimmed and the lines in great condition around this area. That's interesting about the heat pump. We didn't go with a heat pump here when we had our house built. Went with outside AC and a gas furnace. So that takes care of that issue. I've never been really impressed with the heat pump, except I guess when you talk about the amount of extra amount you're going to have to pay to the power company if it goes down to below a certain degree, but they've become much more efficient here in the last 5 years or so, 6 to 8 years, and so they're able to do a better job. And I think they might be worth it now. So anyway, we're not changing. Anyhow, I'll say 73, and everybody have a great upcoming first of this week, and hopefully we don't get anything this weekend, but we'll have to wait and see. So WB4NKL, this is WB4ARK.
He checked out.
Yeah, he took off. Chuck, pick it up. N4IYQ, still with us?
Long time ago.
Easy to get rid of. Moles live on, I've got them here. Moles live off of grubs. Put some grub killer down, you'll get rid of them. And that's, or get a cat, or do both, one of the two. So I'll say 73s to everybody. Look forward to seeing, should be around on Thursday here. Let's see, Jimmy, to you, K4JAL, K3OS.
K3OS, K4JAL. You came up beautifully that time, Gary. Atmospherics QSB had you before. I got some stuff. I had a mole problem 2 or 3 years ago, and I got these little beacons you stick down in the ground. They're battery powered, and they go eep, 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 and they left. So that might be a solution for you, Dave. Just eep at them. Boone, I've responded with a text on your hog patch out there and said you can eat them suckers. Feral hogs are just as good as any other kind of ham, and I just shoot them. Test it me. 7-3, guys, and over to you, Boone. WA4EVK K4JAL.
K4JL, WA4EVK. Yeah, Jimmy, I meant to respond to you. You missed my response on the 160 net. We had them down in Texas pretty bad, and there's a lot of them get eaten down there, that's for sure. My neighbors get a little upset when I use the night vision stuff and shoot them in the middle of the night, but I'm gonna definitely trap them. Man, that thing is deciding to. But as somebody said here previously, it's like the moles. They live off of grubs, particularly white grubs, which a class or species of white grub is June bug larva. And I had noticed I had some little grub problem along that driveway. Obviously, I had a bigger problem than I thought I did, because that's what they were coming in here after, I'm pretty sure. So it'll be a two-pronged, or three. Shoot them, trap them, and kill the grubs, and hopefully I can get rid of. I had no idea they were even around, except for one incident where my son swore he could smell them. You can actually smell them if you're downwind of them, if the herd's moving around. And I've got pretty deep woods in here behind me to the north, so live and learn. I reckon I should have jumped on grub eradication and enjoyed it. Thank you, Charlie, for running that and letting me in here at the last minute. I got sleepy this morning. And with that, we'll send it back to you. W4MEC, WA4EVK. I believe I'm the last one out.
Yes, sir. WA4EVK in the group, W4MEC. Just a couple quick notes here. Buddy, if you're thinking about that generator, they run on propane, and if you don't have propane, they really got you on the tank installation. And I looked into getting one and running a line from my tank to the generator, and you got to have the line size right and all that. But there was no way to get the line from my tank to where the generator needed to go. So they were going to install their own tank for $3,000. And I said, well, forget that. That's not going to work for me. So I went with this thing here. They really stick you. Let's see, Jimmy, you can buy 100 feet of Cat 5 cable from Amazon for $15 with the connectors already installed. If you got a router and you wanted to hook that generator up to your router there, only issue there is routing surge or something like that will probably take out both the generator and your router. But if you want to hook it up, that's the way to do it there. And let's see, moles. I tried that one of those mole chasers like you had, Jimmy. And you picture a yard full of moles, mole holes and all that stuff, and then you go stick that thing in the ground. It becomes like a bullseye, because all the moles run away from that mole chaser, but depending on how big your yard is, they only go to where they can't hear it, and then they start digging. So you got this circular pattern with new moles, and you got moles. So I had 3 of them in the yard at one time. They're all solar powered. And finally, they all crapped out. They needed a rechargeable AA battery, and I did that on a couple of them, and I just gave up. I said, the heck with moles. And the cats watching them, yeah, we had that too. And we used to have a cat door, so the cats could go in and out at free will. And they would bring them in the house. They wouldn't kill them. I don't think they liked the taste, but they'd bring the darn critters in the house, and I have to go chase those things down. And I don't know how well they see. They always said moles don't see well, but they seem to be able to find out where to run to. So catch that thing and take it out there and throw it over the darn pasture next to me. So anyway, a cat will sit there and stare at the ground, because he can hear him digging under there. And he will stare and stare and stare, and finally he will wait for the right moment and go get him there. But don't let him bring him in the house. And let's see. Alrighty. Thanks for having me. I checked in the net today, and y'all have a good rest of the week until I talk to you again on Thursday, and try to stay warm. 7-3 all. This W4MEC shutting down the old Friends Net. Bye-bye.